For June 24th, 2024. Ask for a motion from Councillor Smith that council adopt the agenda for the regular council meeting June 24th as presented.
I'll give you that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Agenda approvals. Ask for a motion from Councillor Barton that omnibus motion adopts the following in accordance with council's procedure bylaw: the June 10th regular council meeting minutes and the June 10th public hearing minutes and the strategic priorities chart.
Yeah, I've been motion, Mayor.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Public comments, all yours, Linda. Let her rip. Nothing? Done. Marika from Friends of, that is how you pronounce your name, is it? Marika. Thank you. Friends of Foothills Schools Foundation is here to present a delegation.
My first time in, so not quite sure.
Just in the center chair there, and I'll turn the mic on, or Kent will turn the mic on for you.
Giving me this opportunity to speak with you. The Friends of Foothill School Foundation was in the works for about 2.5 years. It came out of a bunch of educators and parent council individuals who got together and saw some inequities within the school system that was not funded outside of the basic needs that come out of Alberta education. So the foundation was put into play. It took us a bit to get things going, but I was hired in February. Part of my function was to make sure that we had CRA certification, that we're a registered society, that we have our job description roles, all of that administrivia. Also, part of what my job is to do is to make people aware that the foundation exists and why we exist. You have, I think, my presentation on overhead. Is that fair enough? Can I? Okay. Is there a clicker for me to click, or am I okay? Okay, so we are a CRA registered foundation, and to that, oh, thank you.
You can use keyboard or mouse, left mouse click before.
Okay. So that means that we can give out tax donations and tax receipts. Who are we? We're part of community members. There are 7 of us that sit on the board. The relationship with the Foothill School Division is that we're arm's length. We operate independently. We do go to them for guidance. We go to them to make sure that our strategic plan is in alignment with the strategic goals for education within the Foothill School Division. Our vision is to remove financial barriers that impede academic success, and we're trying to build a community that empowers the students of Foothill School Division. So what is the need? Public funding from Alberta Education addresses basic educational needs, but it doesn't address enhancements. So we went to 22 school councils, the board chair and I, Larry Albrecht, and we asked them some questions. What is lacking in your school? What do you raise money to support within your schools? How do you go about that? And how do you see the foundation supporting you? The input that we received back was quite exciting in that they did not see us as competition. They saw us as being collaborative with them. They saw a need that the foundation could go for grants or some funding opportunities that an individual parent council would not have the ability to do. So we would bring that strength to this relationship. Parent councils are very tired of fundraising. They fundraise for Chromebooks. They fundraise for maintenance on school playgrounds. They fundraise for library books. It's quite across the board, and each need is different depending on the school. So if you have a school in Blackie, Cayley, or Longview, their needs are quite different than schools in High River or Okotoks. And just so that you're aware, the levels of child poverty in our school district, we have 8.8% child poverty in Okotoks. That affects 250 children in our school district. In High River, it's 13.8%, and that's approximately 200 students. So those are students that may not have boots to wear or clothing in the wintertime, that can't afford additional fees for transportation to go on outings, that may not have the funding to get them a Chromebook or a tablet to do homework, those kinds of things. So what is our mandate? We came together and we looked for 3 pillars. So our pillars are basically enhanced learning support, that if you give a kid an opportunity and you provide them with the right tools, whether it be through mental health or technology or assessments to figure out why they're having some difficulties and how we can help them, that's our first area. Our second is emergency relief for families. We all know that in our rural areas, we all band together. If there's something that happens, neighbors are the first ones out there. So is your school division. School principals have a fund that they use for kids who require additional financial support. Our flourishing communities, this is the exciting part. This is what makes kids want to go to school. We have basic math, reading, arithmetic, but this is the application of those principles. And right now in Diamond Valley, there's a great example of the virtual garden. I'm pretty sure many of you are familiar with it. But the students got together, got a sea can, donated, raised money, put in microgreens. They harvest them. They sell them through the school or through one of the grocery stores. And anything that's left over, they give back to the community and to their food bank. So there's a huge application of these kids invested in their community, using their education from their classroom and applying it into a practical environment. Right now, there are no funds for those kinds of projects. So that's one of the areas that the foundation believes we can make some gains in. Fundraising versus fund development. Well, we're brand new. We're kicking ourselves off. So yeah, we've got to do some fundraising right now. And our first fundraising event is a golf tournament on August the 20th that we're hoping you'll support us by either getting a foursome together and coming out and playing, or sponsoring some aspect of the golf tournament, or showing up for dinner for a wonderful roast beef dinner. After fundraising, you need to look at how do you become sustainable. That's where part of my job is looking at grants, looking at opportunities from the Calgary Foundation, looking at other foundations, service clubs. So it's the writing campaign, the in-person campaign, and the visiting campaign to go see how many individuals we can compel with the story we have to tell. Our long-term goals, of course, are to work collaboratively with all groups, whether they be municipal governments, community associations, parent groups, organizations outside of education. Our projects to date, what we've done so far, are visiting the 22 schools, Picnic with a Purpose. That was our primary kickoff. The Children's Festival in Okotoks. We're in the process of doing media interviews with the Wheel, the High River Times, High Country News, Golden West Media, and as I say, our golf tournament. We have a website, friendsoffoothills.ca. If you want to contact us, that's our information. I know I have 15 minutes. Hopefully I've kept myself in your timelines. Do you have any questions that I could answer for you?
Questions from council? Councillor Kinghorn.
Okay, I'm going to show my green thumb. What are microgreens?
I'm going to show you my country girl. Lettuce, radishes, small little things that don't require a lot of soil because they're they're vertical in a garden.
Cool.
Have you not been to see it?
No.
Oh, you got to
but
go.
I'd like to.
Yeah,
I might eat some lettuce.
I'll tell
Thank
them
you.
you're coming.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Mayor Snodgrass. And thank you. I actually think this is great. I've been on many parent councils over the 20-some years that my kids have been in school, and I think this is a great way to, one, collaborate, but also give strength to them, because you're right, like, you get a lot of turnover, you get tired of fundraising, the list goes on and on. So I see great opportunities in the coming future with this. So thank you for preparing all that, and I look forward to see what you guys can do in the future.
Thank you. It's quite exciting. Any other questions I can answer?
Councillor Smith?
Thank you, Mayor Snodgrass. And further to, the microgreen adventure continues because they have a booth at the Okotoks Farmers Market as well. So
Yeah.
it's available there. Students are coming and part of it. So I saw that on Friday when I was there. So I thought that was really great. Social enterprise. So is that something else that you see happening through the development of this? Is more social enterprise within the schools?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I know that in terms of programs that the schools would like to offer are things like the STEAM program to get more women into those engineering, science kinds of things, but also to look at some of the trades groups on how to get welding and shop and woodworking. My grandparents are immigrants, and when they came to this country, my grandfather was a cabinet maker. So there's that whole apprenticeship programming that prepares kids for not the university side of things, but that embodiment of creativity that I can't hammer a nail into a board. So, yeah, that's what we're trying to do. And Ontario has several programs that they have collaborated with Habitat for Humanity, where classes have gone out to build homes, and that's part of their curriculum within the education to see whether or not that trade would work for those kids. So I think we're only limited right now by what we don't know and moving forward. So thank you, Kelly.
My pleasure. No, I'm very excited to see what you do next. Thank you.
Thanks.
That's all I have for questions. Thanks
Thank-
very much.
Thank you.
First I've heard about this, so thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you. I appreciated the opportunity.
You're
Take care,
welcome.
you guys, and hopefully I'll see you on the golf course.
Oh, it's all right. Oh, thank you very much. Good job.
The next delegation that we have is, are we calling you Rick Green today, or we got, you got a different name, Rick, or?
Call me Rick.
You got
Now, they did give me a mic, but I may not need it.
we can probably just leave the middle one on, and
I could probably sit
you've got a
here.
strong enough voice that you can probably stand and.
I could probably sit here and go, hear ye, hear ye. But no, that's not right. Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. The residents of the town of High River have gathered and grumbled about the leaders and our own displeasures in life. We have decided that we are in control of our happiness and we're in control of our future. Therefore, we have decided that it is in our best interest to hold the High River Stampede Breakfast from 9 a.m. in the morning until the forenoon in downtown High River. We have also decided to hold our public officials accountable and support one of our own very own important community programs, Wild Rose Community Connections. To that end, here are the offenses and the agenda for July 8th, Pancake Judgment Day. Mr. Craig Snodgrass, AKA Your Worship, wanted for painting a yellow stripes on the happy trails and startling the many horses that use these trails every day.
I didn't paint it. I don't like the yellow lines. I didn't do it. I'm innocent.
The troop will make that decision on the 8th, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Brenda Walsh, wanted for racing your silver 4-horse carriage, in today's day, a Ford Focus, around town with the music too loud, disturbing most of the residents. Ms. Jenny Jones, wanted for trimming people's hair but neglecting to trim the mane from their horses. Mr. James Barton, wanted for filling in gopher holes in the local ball fields without the proper authority of the troop. Mr. Jamie Kinghorn, you, sir, are wanted for scaring the livestock with your one-eyed purple fire horse named I Am Raw. This activity has caused many of the residents to look up to the sky rather than where they're going. This result is we have many lost residents wandering around High River with no purpose. Your day, your judgment day will be July 8th. Miss Kelly Schmidt wanted for overuse of big words that many of us cowboys don't understand. Words like, may I please, and trepidatious. I don't know how to spell it, but I can say it. Mr. Michael Mychuk, Mr. Michael Nychuk, wanted for peddling his high-priced hooch around town. These actions have caused many cowboys to stumble around town and agitate residents like a bunch of drunken wasps. Mr. Chris Prosser, you are wanted for failure to keep the water troughs filled for our horses to drink from and for our drunken cowboys to bath in. Each of you are declared similarly convicted of their individual crimes and must report to the location of the gallows, the dunk tank. Your sentence for your crime will be issued and executed at 0900 hours on July 8th. And as your fate has been predetermined, your sentences will be one of the following and will be determined at the time of judgment. Depending on the offense and the attitude of the leader of the Steel Scouts commemorative troop, the following sentence will be carried out by our troop. You may be provided with a horse and 3 days' rations and banned from High River until the next drought arrives upon us. You may be taking a trip to the train station, escorted by members of the Steel Scouts troop. We all know what happens when you take a trip to the train station. You may be dropped into an ice-cold tank of water until fully wet, and then put on display for town residents to witness and judge. If you're unwilling or unable to enter the dunk tank, a special exception may be made for you with a cream pie to the face each time someone is dropped in the infamous tank. As a politician, you will be able to buy your way out of this by providing 100 pounds of food for the needy, or the equivalent of 100 Canadian dollars in gold nuggets. If you need one, my son is a gold miner in the Yukon. He can probably front you some. As a politician, you will also be given the opportunity to level up. No, it's not a Master Chef program. This is leveling up from a political standpoint. Meaning, give us someone more valuable than you, and your sentence will be reduced. For example, if one of you can provide a good story about another person and ensure that maybe she arrives to the tank, Danielle Smith would be a good trade-off. Ensure they attend the dunk tank, and your sentence may be reduced. Over the next few days, each of you will be scheduled to appear in front of our troop leader and face your judgment in downtown High River after you have been fed your final pancake breakfast. Each of you will have been provided with the only clothing and headdress needed to carry out your sentence. If you do not attend, the troop will post a wanted poster, and you'll be hunted down. Come and celebrate with us the history of the first stampede in 1912, where our very own George Lane played a pivotal role in the success of the Calgary Stampede. You can also celebrate the history of the first stampede breakfast, served off the back of a chuck wagon in 1923. Come and break bread with us, with the town folk, and celebrate all of the positive things about community and High River.
Well done. Thanks, Rick. And the event that you guys are putting on is going to be a fantastic little breakfast, and it does tie, I've been asked, how does this tie to High River, the Stampede in Calgary? Has very close ties with George Lane and primarily Guy Wiedek as well, because Guy Wiedek lived in town, and he's buried in High River, as is George Lane. Both of them are. So we do have close ties to the Stampede in Calgary, and I think it's great that we've got an event now that brings us to be a part of that. And obviously, Wild Rose Community Connection is a great charity that it supports. So, council, of course, will advise you, and some of us have advised you as to what our availability is on July 8th. It's Monday, so it's a little bit difficult for some of us, but everybody will advise you as to what their availability is to be able to participate in this. So, well done, Rick.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Jody, bylaw 4631, 2024, Council Code of Conduct.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. So in your agenda package, there was an updated Council Code of Conduct. This would be to replace bylaw 4546, 2018. The changes are primarily to shift the integrity commissioner to an external third party, as it is currently designated as the Director of Corporate Services. Switching it to an external party is in the hopes to alleviate any perception of bias with someone directly on administration performing any investigation. So this way it would go to a law firm or a third-party investigative organization. And then we also included alignment to the recently adopted social media policy. There were some words in the council code of conduct previously. However, there is now a section that is specifically heading under that social media policy. And then there were some other small typographical or organizational changes, such as we no longer have a Director of Corporate Services, so changing some of those items as well that have shifted since 2018 in our organization. If you've had a chance to review the updated Code of Conduct, I am happy to do my best to answer any questions that you may have.
Thanks, Jody. I think the Integrity Commissioner change is fantastic, because if this stuff arises, it does put a staff member in a very awkward position when we're all friends with staff members and everything else. So I think it's great that goes to a third party. It is obviously more expensive to have a law firm or another party involved with it, but it's an important expense to keep any bias out of play. So, Councillor Nychuk.
Thanks, Mayor Snodgrass. I guess an administrative detail. Does there need to be a budgetary allotment for this, or would it fall under legal? Where would this fall as far as if we needed to use it, if at all? Or is it a miscellaneous spend, or how does that work then?
So we don't have a budget item that is associated with this directly. We do have a legal budget that does fall within our legislative services budget, which we could pull from there or from somewhere else if CEO Chris Prosser advised.
It certainly would depend on the scope of the code of conduct violation and how extensive that may be. And we hope we never have to investigate a code of conduct. So our legal budget is enough to carry us on 1 or 2 a year potentially. But at the end of the day, budgeting extra for those types of requests will just be one-offs and have to come from surplus.
I'll ask for a motion from Councillor Jones that council give first reading to bylaw 4631, 2024, the council code of conduct bylaw, and that council give second reading to the previously mentioned bylaw, and that all council give unanimous consent to proceed with third and final reading of bylaw 4631, 2024, the council code of conduct bylaw.
I'll give you that motion, Mayor Snodgrass.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. I'll ask for a motion from Councillor Nychuk. The council give third and final reading to bylaw 4631, 2024, the council code of conduct bylaw, and the council repeal bylaw 4546, 2018, council code of conduct.
I'll give you that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Renewal lease with High River Sunset Drive-In. Alicia?
And then in addition to the drive-in movie theater operations, they've been also hosting other community-wide events too. They've been approached on numerous occasions by individuals or by groups who are looking for space to book a private event where they can hold overnight events or camping, private weddings, functions, things like that. So with the request from Sunset Drive-In with the short-term camping, came a request to install additional permanent electrical utility services on the lands. Approximately 12 more of the 30 amp RV plugins, which would allow for power to accommodate ongoing short-term camping and larger events. Sunset Drive-In also currently holds a notice of decision with planning for the current uses of the land, and they have confirmed planning that the new use requested is allowable as part of the discretionary uses on that land zoned for urban reserve district. With that said, the attached letter in the council agenda that's been drafted for the renewal term includes the following amendments. So there's an addition of a security provision administration is recommending. As previously mentioned, obviously due to the nature of the permanent fixtures considered to be an improvement and the money, time, and effort it would require to remove this permanent infrastructure. Administration's recommending to collect a damage deposit from Sunset Drive-In to be held by the town in the event that the town is required to remediate the lands once that lease is expired, or alternatively to return it to Sunset Drive-In if it's not needed. So the amount that's been calculated to be held is $9,500, which is 25% of the estimated construction costs that Sunset Drive-In provided to planning in May. The only other change is just, again, changing the permitted use within the lease agreement to include only the drive-in theater and the short-term camping. The way it was written was to allow for each of the events under the permitted uses to be considered on an individual basis to determine whether or not an intensification of use permit had to be required through planning. However, now that we have our special events permitting process, all events outside of the drive-in movie theater and the short-term camping should be streamlined through that process for approval. With the execution of the lease renewal, the town's planning department is also going to be reissuing an updated notice of decision that will expire in 2029 to align with the renewal term of the lease agreement. Happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Alicia. Questions from council? Councillor Kinghorn.
Thank you. I'll go first. Do we know if, is it Sunset Drive-In? What's the name of the group?
Yeah, Sunset Drive-In Limited.
Are they a not-for-profit?
I
I know
don't.
it's hard for you to answer that question. I don't see.
I don't believe they are, because one of the permitted uses that we did ages ago was that they had to provide up to 50% of the revenue that they were generating back into local charities. So I'm going to assume and say, I don't know, Jody, do you know the answer to that?
I do not know the answer to that.
But I can find out for you if.
Yeah, I think
that's
it would be
important.
prudent before I make a decision on this if I have that information. Thank
Okay.
you.
Councillor Smith?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm similar questioning because I am under the impression that they are a
Okay.
nonprofit. So that too would guide our decision about asking for a security, I would think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm shooting them a text to try to get an answer before we,
Intently
Um,
researching.
rather than try.
I did just find something on their High River page.
Yep.
It does say not-for-profit drive-in movie theater serving High River in southern Alberta. But that's just on their Facebook page. I don't have any documentation that confirms.
And I
Councillor
guess
Kinghorn?
the question should have been reworded, are they a registered not-for-profit?
Okay. Yeah, we can find that out.
Yeah, like we have lists that they've provided in the past with whatever it was, I think 29 different charities that they've given money to, a few $100 each. So I'm confident that the money's going back into the community like they've always said they're doing, but your
So-
question is completely respected, Councillor Kinghorn, just so that we know exactly how we're doing this, so.
Yeah, so if I may, Mayor, we do have some lists, but the most recent one I thought was 2021, so like 3 years ago. So to my knowledge, I haven't been brought up to date on what's happened out there and sort of where the money's going, really.
Okay.
Thank you.
So would you be requesting another list of local charities, or do you want more information on the funds and the budgeting, or just strictly whether or not they're non-for-profit?
I think that's two questions.
It's three, kind of, yeah.
Okay. Then all three.
Okay, sounds good.
Because we are using town-owned properties.
Correct.
The residents of our community should be kept apprised of what's going on out there and the benefit that it's bringing to the community.
Agreed.
The capital install of these utilities is being 100% funded by the drive-in,
Correct.
Wes and Roger, right?
Correct.
Now, I'm curious as to how that shows up with other projects around town when we're asking for a 25% security deposit. Is this a normal thing we do for a community group like this that's funding their own capital costs and everything, and what's the 9,500 to be used for?
Yes, certainly, this is probably a little bit more unique than other community groups, because most other community groups will build something for us and turn it over to us to own and operate. This is certainly something that they feel as an added addition to their overall operation out there that they feel will benefit the town of High River with temporary accommodation. But it is not an asset that would be turned over to us that we would take over and operate at any future point in time. So it is a little bit different, and I think, we wanted to have the conversation with council about the security of, if they were to fail, how do we ensure that the taxpayers are protected to remediate that site back to its natural state?
Yeah, there would be up to 20 permanent electrical services in the ground at that point, so it would be quite costly to remove all of those. The lands are also currently zoned for temporary uses, so if that took over and became permanent for whatever use is going to continue there, then I believe it would also need to be rezoned.
Yeah, and it's a temporary permitting, whatever you,
Technically, it's the short-term camping that has
Right.
been considered temporary.
right.
I would,
But everything, I guess what I'm saying, Alicia, is that everything along there is got a temporary, discretionary temporary use. The trust plant is under a temporary as well, so. Just because of the future of Spitzy Crossing and when that gets developed out, that,
Yeah.
that takes precedent. Counselor, back to Counselor Kinghorn.
Yeah, I would include the screen as well in the drive-in screen that they've put in. That would be a pretty healthy build to try and take all that down and clean that up, but.
we
At
did
the
kind of
time.
leave that out of the discussion this time, just because we allowed it in the past without securities, so we wanted to keep this strictly to, like, the addition of these extra 12, so as not to go back and say, well, this amount is also encompassing that at this time, but I do agree with you that, yes, it is substantial.
Thank you.
They're checking.
Okay.
Counselor Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we have not asked of this of them in the past, by way of any kind of a security?
No, we have nothing on file, or we've never asked for securities in the past. They are aware of this amount and that we were asking, because we did have to ask what the estimated construction costs were.
Okay.
And we let them know that that was just to calculate the securities deposit if council was in support of that, so.
Okay, so they were apprised of that as a potential outcome?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Counselor Kinghorn.
So Mayor Snodgrass, when is our next council meeting? I think we got one early July, do we not?
Yeah, so,
July 8th.
the 8th.
That could impact what they're trying to do, but
It definitely does, and I'm trying to think, do we have to split this motion up in a couple of places? Because we could get their lease done so that they know that with the permitted use, and it's this new electrical utility service and the security.
Well, yeah, there's that part, the security, the new lease, the not-for-profit. I think we should have a not-for-profit, registered not-for-profit. I think they should be doing that. And I lost my train of thought. Sorry. Now I already said that.
Yeah, they were also looking for a decision just because they do have a bunch of events that have been requested, like weddings and such, that they want to make sure they can accommodate.
And the wagons are coming up too, because the wagons are, geez, when? Calgary Stampede's pretty quick, so
So
When are the
could
wagons,
we
this
do
weekend?
this without the power? I mean, everybody knows I've recently purchased a coach, and it's set up so that I can run without power. I don't think we've allowed them to put power in. I think that's what this application is about, is it not? Or we've already allowed the power? It's the extension.
Yeah, there's already 7 sites, I believe, that have power. Whether or not that, I don't believe that was for camping. Some of the, there was a lot of information on this one. So from what I found, you did approve of overnight stays. I'm not sure about approving of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 7. It was my understanding that the approval was for these extra additional 7 outlets for the bathroom and for the food truck, I believe.
Yeah, I didn't think we were allowing providing power for camping. I could be wrong, but
I want to thank,
I remember having the conversation, but I don't remember it coming to council as a formal request. But could we allow them to use the camping without the power? Without putting the power in?
Julie has an answer for you.
they are a registered nonprofit. I want to thank Sonia for sending me the Alberta listing. I searched through it. They are listed. Nonprofit private company, High River Sunset Drive-In Limited.
Thank you.
Let them know they're registered. Thank you, Sonia.
So I have one question now that we got that cleared up and we can move forward. I got one question on asking for the security deposit at all, knowing full well that the $9,500 will not cover the cost of removing that electrical and everything. So my question is, why are we asking for it? Councillor Jones.
Thanks, Mayor Snodgrass. Well, I mean, like Chris said, it is our public lands that we do have to, if they were to leave, it is our responsibility to remediate it. And if they're willing to give up that amount of money in order for us to do it, at least it covers some of the cost. And if they aren't willing, then they'll do it, right, and themselves and get their money back. So it's like any lease or anybody renting a space, like we can't say that they 100% will leave it exactly the way they're supposed to. We don't know that. So we have to somewhat assume, I'm going to say the worst, but a scenario which we would need our taxpayer funds in order to fix the problem.
Fair enough. No further questions that I have. I'll ask for a motion from Councillor Nychuk that council approve the renewal of the lease agreement with the presented updated permitted use of the lease of the westerly acres of that with the High River Sunset Drive-In Limited. And that council authorize the mayor and CAO to execute the amended lease agreement, including the permitted uses as described, and that council direct administration to provide approval for the High River Sunset Drive-In Limited to install additional permanent electrical utility services to the westerly 4 acres of 429-1912 Northeast. And further that, council direct administration to collect a damage deposit in the amount of $9,500 prior to High River Sunset Drive-In Limited installing any additional permanent electrical utility services to be used as a measure of security for any potential remediation expenses that could be incurred once the lease has expired or returned if not needed. I'm done.
I'll give you that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. One question. The $9,500, does that have to be a cash, or is it going to be a bond, or can it be a letter of credit, or?
It could be any of those three following our policy.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Have we spoken to them about this? They absolutely know that this is a requirement at this point, or a potential requirement?
Yeah, they know its potential.
Okay.
That's all we've kind of said is that, yeah, we were considering collecting securities, what would the estimated construction costs be, and we would estimate it from there. And then I believe we do have a policy or procedure on how we usually collect those securities. We did do it a little bit differently because it's not through a development permit, because we wouldn't put anything on the title when we're the owners of the property. But so we aren't taking like the 10% contingency cost that engineering usually takes with a development agreement, because it is not that. So, but we took the other piece of the process.
And are we requiring this all at once up front, or can it be scaled?
It would be all up front
All up
at
front?
once.
Okay. Thank you.
No further questions?
I have a question. Do you still
Alicia?
want that financial information?
I think it would be prudent that they update the list or follow the original lease, because we were, I believe, supposed to get that annually of what the contributions to the various organizations within the community are.
Sure.
And I think it's good information for us to have.
You bet.
All good? All in favor? Approved. Carried. Thanks, Alicia. Councillor reports. Anybody? Councillor Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to thank Councillor Walsh for attending with me the Drake Landing ribbon cutting for West Winds in Okotoks this last week. New affordable housing was declared available, or was already filled, actually, and certainly looking at filling the needs within our various communities. So it was a well-attended and well-received event, and thank you, Brenda, for being there.
No one else? Any board and committee reports? Linda? Nothing? All right. Of course, it's nice. Council correspondence for information. Thank you letter from Solace Grief Support Society for the funding they received. Correspondence regarding the aquatic expansion, Rimrock Feedlot, horses in town. That pertains to some horse manure that was left on happy trails that the owner of the horse did not clean up. So we ask anybody, you are welcome to ride your horses in town. We ask that you clean up the horse's mess, just like a dog. Correspondence regarding garbage on Riverside Green. There's a request for administration to kind of look into what could be done there, but there is a garbage bin that's there from what I understand, and like anywhere else in town, we ask people to, when you have garbage, use the garbage bins around. They are everywhere on happy trails and everywhere else, so please use them, and we all do our part to keep our town clean. So nothing else. Meeting adjourned 3:48.